Welcome to Tech Wells. We can see how investment can be for a startup, even for the investor that is investing in any startup. Join us every Friday, 12 p.m. West African time, as we discuss everything about startup investment in the world of blockchain, crypto, and fintech in Africa, only on Coin News Extra TV.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the show, Tech Wells, a beautiful program that comes your way every Friday, 12 p.m. West African time. We talk about everything investment in startups in the ecosystem of blockchain technology. So today we are going to be looking at an interesting topic, the state of blockchain startup investment in Africa. So we're going to be looking at the state of blockchain startup investment in Africa. We see a lot of investments are coming into the African blockchain startup ecosystem. And the funny thing is that even with the fundings that are coming into Africa, Africa still accounts for less than 1% of the total investment when it comes to blockchain and crypto startup investment. So I'm your host, Liu Chomoheri. So we are going to be looking at this, we'll run down all this, and I have amazing guidelines for this that we're going to look at some of the major points here. We're going to be looking at what startup investment is. So we're going to be looking at the definitions. I know many of us may know it, but we'll be looking at the definitions around it and seeing some of the options for investment. So we'll also be looking at history of startup investments in Africa. How has it been? How has the startup investment been in Africa? So we'll look at the rate of investment in the blockchain startup ecosystem in the last 2 years. And also we'll look at startup investment in the blockchain ecosystem that have happened so far this year. There have been a lot of predictions that there are going to be slowed down when it comes to investment in the startup ecosystem. But let's see how that unfolds. We're going to be looking at some of the leading countries when it comes to investment in Africa. So this program is being aired live across 4 channels. You can hook up to watch this program live on YouTube, our YouTube Coin YouTube channel, live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, and also on Twitter. So we'll go for a short break. When we return, we delve into the conversation proper. We'll be right back. Do not go.
Welcome to Tech Wells. We can see how investment can be for a startup, even for the investor that is investing in any startup. Join us every Friday, 12 p.m. West African time, as we discuss everything about startup investment in the world of blockchain, crypto, and fintech in Africa, only on Coin News Extra TV.
Welcome back to the show. It's still Tech Wars live on Coin is Extra TV. Do well to like this show, wherever platform you are watching from. Do well to like and share because this is a very, very vital information that we're going to be dishing out on this show. So very interesting one. We don't have guests today, I would just want to have this time to explain some of the things when it comes to startup blockchain startup investment ecosystem. Let's look at what investment is, startup investment. When you talk about startup investment, it's really means mostly a common one is exchange of startups shares uh, or shares mostly for money. So it can be money, it can be services, it could be anything. So it's the exchange of startup shares or stock for money, services, and other things. So mostly when we talk about startup investment, is mostly about money. We know that, but there are other forms, other things that you can exchange for. You can exchange for services. It could be for some of the services that you don't, as a startup, have money yet to pay for those services. But you need those services to thrive in the ecosystem you operate in. So you could get some companies or other projects or startups who, who are how doing or who can help you perform those services, and you offer them stock or shares in exchange for their services. So there are other ways to, when it comes to startup funding, there are other ways to still raise fund, most especially in the crypto and blockchain ecosystem. So you mustn't exchange for shares. There are options. We now have the options. Some startup raise money in the blockchain space through token sales. So that's another one when it comes to token sales. So we know we have securities, but now I'm looking at, when I'm talking about token sales, securities are the ones that you also attach your shares into it. But this one I'm talking about the utility token or other types of tokens that you can sell, uh, private sell, or you can do a public sale to raise fund for the project. Now that boils down mostly to how that project is. What's your community base? Because before you venture into fundraising, token sale, you will have a good publicity, have good community that could be able to pull the fund that you need. We also know that there are other ways apart from ICOs and all that. We have of crowdfunding. There are crowdfunding platforms that you can hook up with and perform the necessary task, and they will be able to list you on that. We have also NFTs that you can sell, companies NFTs, to raise fund for funding. So you could create an NFT, attach it some values, and you'll be able to raise funds through them. So apart from raising funds in exchange for anything, there are other forms of fundraising when it comes to startup ecosystem, most especially in the blockchain. I know it is also applicable. This one that I'm going to look at is applicable to other setups, but also we have many companies in the blockchain ecosystem that are also giving out grants. So grant is another good form of getting funding. So you could apply for grants from different projects and submit the forms or fill up the forms and other things. And who knows, you could, those are another way you could generate a fund without even giving out anything. So we just there are projects that are out there giving out grants. So just fill and show what you are working on, what stage is it, and all of them will be able to get the grant. And you have nothing to lose. You all have everything to gain. So another one is loan, which is more difficult when it comes to startups, because getting a loan as a startup is very difficult. I'm looking at talking about Africa in general. I don't know how it is outside of Africa, but in Africa, I know that loans, because mostly you access startup loans through microfinance banks, even commercial banks, and other people that give. I know that you can also raise by debt. Some investors give out by debt. So these are some of the ways you can try loan, but it's just like as a startup is much more difficult, but it's still an option to raise a fund. So we're looking at the sources of funding. So let's look at majorly when it comes to investment for equity or shares stock. You mostly look at VCs. Yeah, so there are two major people that you look at are the VCs and the angel investors. So to me, from my research and all that, I believe that angel investors are much more easier to get fund from because mostly people that are angel investors, I know there are other angel investors that raise, they go outside to pool fund, but I know most angel investors use their own fund, their own reserve to invest in startups. So angel investors don't really mostly they invest to help those startups to be a part of those startups. They love what that particular startup is doing. So that's why it's a bit easier to have them on board. Angel investors are on board. So, but VCs are mostly out there for the money. So I don't, most VCs here about your project. What they are looking at are how many returns are they going to have, how many X are they going to have when it comes to your startup. So what you are showcasing to them, they are looking at what are the monetary value, because many, about 99% of majority of the VC funds out there, they pull funds. So they pull funds from investors. They get fund and invest on behalf of those of investors. So that's why they are much, because the people that put money are looking to have much returns. So that's why the VCs are so much more difficult to get on board. But if you get them on board, it's not a bad one too. So that's generally looking at the definitions of a startup. I just want us to understand this startup investment ecosystem. Then we'll be able to look at next. There is some of the startups that have really the rate of investment in our blockchain startup in Africa the last 2 years. So I'll go for a short break. When we return, I'll be able to we'll be able to look at some of the investment rate when it comes to 2021 and 2022. So we're going to be looking at how did the blockchain startup investment ecosystem fared these last 2 years. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Tech Wells. We can see how investment can be for a startup, even for the investor that is investing in any startup. Join us every Friday, 12 p.m. West African time, as we discuss everything about startup investment in the world of blockchain, crypto, and fintech in Africa. Only on Coin News Extra TV.
Is still Tech Wells live on Coinnews Extra TV. So we are talking about the state of blockchain startup investment in Africa. So we look at generally the startup investment ecosystem and definitions and some of the ways to raise funds. So we are going to be moving to how the state of blockchain startup investment in Africa the last 2 years, what has really happened. But if you're just joining us, do well to like this video. So we are broadcasting live across 4 channels. So any platform you're watching from, do well to like and share so that it will get this information will get to as many people as possible. So let me look at the rate of investment in blockchain startups in Africa last 2 years. So let's look at how much money is coming into Africa. So we know that research conducted by blockchain investment firm, that's a CVVC and Standard Bank, indicate that blockchain investment in Africa grew 11x in Q1 2022. African blockchain companies raised 91 million in the first quarter of 2022. This means that the first quarter of 2022 saw a whopping increase of 1,668% year-on-year increase in cash flow compared to last upper year, that's 2021. 2021 recorded a growth of 149%, showing how impressive the influx of capital is in 2022. The second quarter of 2022 saw 11 more money pouring in as companies on the continent raised $230 million, according to the latest data. This brings the total amount raised so far in Q1 and Q2 2022 to a staggering $340 million, more than twice the 127 million raised the upper year. So let's look at who is getting the crypto funding in Africa. Major funding announcement in recent time provide a picture of where the funding is going. Fintech apps and crypto exchanges have consistently laid the chart of sectors with the most investment as venture capitalists line up to fund innovators building essential infrastructure for crypto adoption. So that's how it is. I've been able to see how the crypto and blockchain investment, startup investment is. So we see a lot of investment coming in. But the irony of all this is that even as many investments are coming into Africa, we see that Africa just make up the investment are coming up just less than 1% of the global investment, startup investment in the world. So that's so surprising because even though we are saying that we are seeing a lot of investment into Africa when it comes to startup investment, why is it that we are? This is a question that I'm asking. Why is it that in this, even at that, we are amount to less than 1% of the total startup blockchain startup investment. So I believe even though we know that the investment that are coming into Africa just not that much yet. You see, people are just looking at paying more attention these days, and you've seen that the blockchain ecosystem is still young because many people started building mostly in Africa from the year 2015 down till now. But that's still not an excuse to say that we amount to less than 1% of global blockchain startup investment. So amazing headlines that we have, discussions and conversations here. So when it comes to, I'll look at most countries with in Africa with the most investment. I'll look at Nigeria there. Most of the investments, even in fintech, not only in blockchain, is coming to Nigeria. Nigeria has a majority of the startup investment. So we have other countries there, South Africa. We have South Africa. We have Kenya. So we even in Africa, they even when we are saying we are raising money in the blockchain ecosystem startup investment, we see that it's only Vala blockchain startup investment. You look at it, Vala last year raised about they raised $50 billion in their Series B funding. So how is that? We know that Yellow Card has raised. They also raised total funding of Yellow Card is around 50 something million, but it wasn't a single raise. So they raised 40 and another one was either 12 million or so. I'm not sure about that, but I know they raised 40 million. So, but Vala is the blockchain startup that have really raised more in a single raising so far. This year, 2023. Um, we have been seeing some blockchain startup. So a lot of them. So these are more that when we come, because of our time, we'll be drawing the curtain here for this conversation. But next week, I'll be looking at, I'll be comparing. I told you that Africa amount to less than 1% of our total global startup blockchain startup investment. So we are going to be comparing other regions with Africa. So we'll be looking at Europe. How is the startup investment looks like? How does it look like? We look at Asia, look at North America and South America, and see how what is really happening. Are we that we can use to compete in startup investment? Because there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to investment in this ecosystem in Africa. We have a lot of innovations, a lot of startups that are doing amazingly well. So, but getting out there to meeting with investors and all that, and I know so mostly investors are so skeptical because I have been a media personality here, and say I've interacted with a lot of them. They come to Africa. I don't know why. We'll be having this conversation. Just do well to join us next week, same time, same station. So thank you very much. I remain your host for this show, Liu Chamon. So thank you very much, and do well to share this video so that everyone that is building amazing things will be able to watch this video and understand. Because also on this show, we'll be having investors to come to speak, because we'll be bringing investors who have interest in the African startup blockchain startup investment ecosystem, so that they will come and speak. And so if you have ideas or innovations that needs funding, do well to be tuning in every time to catch up. So also do well to follow Coin News Extra TV across all our social media handles at Coin News Extra TV to stay up to date with happenings in the world of blockchain and crypto fintech. So also do well to tune in today for other of our program, The Week in View, coming out 4 p.m. West African time. We're going to give you major headlines that happened this week in the world of block and fintech. Thank you very much. See you next week. Bye for now.
Welcome to Tech Wells. We can see how investment can be for a startup, even for the investor that is investing in any startup. Join us every Friday, 12 p.m. West African time, as we discuss everything about startup investment in the world of blockchain, crypto, and fintech in Africa. Only on Coin News Extra TV.